I love those two going hand in hand. The beginning was the Word. What word? You know, which word are we going to listen to? You know, did you hear it the same way I did? I heard it a little different. Isn't that what we do nowadays? Well, let's check AI. If we can ask AI, you know, how do I get to Springfield? Springfield what? They won't ask you that. It'll just tell you to go to Springfield, Missouri, or California, or... In the beginning, in the first 4 years of Christianity, I'm going to sit down. My back is still out, and I'm just gonna put her down right there. Oh, in the first 4 years of Christianity, the word that was used to describe this text, you know, in the beginning was the Word. That word wasn't English. It was Latin they were using, and the first word they used was verbum, and it was seen as the real word, the right one, the correct one. This is, you know, you turn left, not right. I mean, there's yes and no. All the binaries are there, and this is the right way. It was verbum. And then over time, no, I'm sorry, it's backwards. They did this in the year 4. The first 3 years was a word called sermo, which means sermon or conversation. It's not the same thing of sermons nowadays, right? You just want me to keep talking. But the conversation's going on inside of me. There's all kinds of disparate things happening. And so the first 3 years, that in the beginning was the conversation. The conversation was with God, and it was full of light and life, and it gave life and light to all the people. The people became the light, and the conversant ones, the ones that worked it out. And then in the 4th year, it became verbum, which is the word. And then in time went back to the Greek, and which is the language of the written, and it became logos, which I understand is a lot closer to what we would imagine conversation would be, even though I haven't looked at it that way. It helps if the word is conversation and to be working things out. That's how God comes. That's how God comes in and through and with us and comes up into us. Generation after generation, there are things that we did, oh my gosh, there are things that we're doing. There are things that we did not too long ago that we would see as an abomination. And there are too many to even get into. And there's still. There's another text that I could have read, which is the killing of the innocents. That's another wonderful Christmas text that never ends up on the lawn with LED lights. So right out of the chute, you have a baby born, and you hardly catch a breath. You hardly get up and be able to walk on your own. You're holding this infant that might be colicky, and you're running for dear life, just like that. And for those of you that like to come up to me afterwards and say, would you just lighten up? Read what I read. I may not be looking at the news a whole lot these days, but I have to read the biblical texts. And it's the same. So it's about a conversation. And if we don't have the conversation about what is God trying to say, what is God trying to deliver, where am I seeing the Spirit alive in the world, where's the coming salvation, as I said in your wedding. Salvation is the word salvo. It's used twice in all the Gospels. And has anybody used drawing salve before? We had it as when I was a kid. Something gets in there, you put drawing salve on it, softens things up, and it makes all kinds of things come out. You know, pieces of glass, bullets, they pop right out. drawing salve. It opens you up. That's salvation. Salvation has come to this house today, Jesus says, to this tax collector who's been ripping people off. He says, I'll pay everybody back twofold. He's been opened. And all this good stuff will flow after the bad stuff gets squeezed out. Salvo. Different than being saved. Set apart. But opened to be in. So I got a call. I got a call from my brother. Actually, it was a text. And Mom, if Albert's there, just tell him to just pipe down a little bit. And or Jamie, you don't have to tell him to pipe down. He's always piped down. But Jamie texts me. He's the younger one, and he says, "Can you text me as soon as you can, or call?" And that's always a bad sign. And so I called, left him a message. He called me right back, and I said, "Is everything all right?" And he says, "Yeah." Or no. Is everybody okay? Are there broken bones? Are there? And he's trying to get this out, and he says, "Somebody shot into our house last night." And I was like, "What? How can you be sure?" And he says, "I'm sure." And I said, "Well, tell me about it. Did it hurt Mom or Albert or you?" And he says, "Well, Mom and Albert don't know about it. And I don't know if I want to tell them. Because we moved family into a nice neighborhood. They lived in a war zone for all their life. Bullet holes there. Just get some toothpaste and squeeze it in the bullet hole, you're done. But this is disconcerting, and it came through a window in the basement. And he described it and sent pictures. And which is really scary to me. What in the world is going on? It came through the basement window, through the blinds, these wooden blinds, right through the dance studio that's in the first floor place, right through a wall, through a door that was open, and then landed in the laundry area. A slug on the floor. I said, did you move it? He said, "No, I'm not touching it." I said, "Oh. So everybody's okay. Everybody's okay. What should I do?" And I said, "Well, where did it come from?" He said, "I don't know. Let's get Mom involved now. Because she watches CSI all the time. Get a piece of string and go from the hole through the next hole and the next hole, and then just keep following that string, and you'll see where it came from." He says, "Oh, no, I don't have to do that." He says, "I know where it came from. It came from the hole in the building next door, lining right up with the trajectory, and it blew out the siding."
Oh my gosh.
Right? So, what do you do now? So we went through all of that consternation and whatnot, and got the police involved and all of those things the next day. But they were afraid, and so was I. And before I was done talking to Jamie on the phone, he said, "What do I do? What do I do?" I said, "I don't know what you're going to do. I wish I could be there. I wish I could go next door. There's new renters next door that would have been in that house where the bullet came out of. Would you feel comfortable ringing that doorbell?" "No, especially not now." If I was there, I'd go ring their doorbell. I'd just ring their doorbell. And maybe bring a couple of you with me. So they got to shoot us all. Nope. So then the next best thing I did was I called the retired firefighter next door, Albert. And after an hour of talking with him, he walked me through all of these things. And before I was finished with the conversation with Albert next door on the phone, I got another call saying that Albert was screaming bloody murder. My Albert. Because someone was trying to steal the catalytic converter on Jamie's car out front in broad daylight. Same thing's happening. Now, bear with me for a second here. It's all coming back around. It really is. So I asked Albert next door, what's going on? I said, it seems like the neighborhood's dangerous. He says, in 60 years, nobody's ever fired a gun anywhere in this neighborhood. I don't know what that's about. I don't know, make a police report. He says, it's really odd. And I said, and they're running around outside in front, just trying to steal catalytic converters again. They, stole his catalytic converter twice, in the various neighborhoods. And Albert says, oh. He says, let me tell you about this. He says, this morning my son came to the house to drop off his dog, and he come running back in with, he said, Dad, I need a 5-gallon bucket. I need a 5-gallon bucket as fast as you can. For what? For what? And they run out there, and he picks up a Komodo dragon. What? 2 feet long, in the gutter.
No.
Underneath my brother's car.
Very aggressive.
Right? And they come in, they look at this Komodo dragon who's hardly moving at all because it's so cold. And they thought he was dead. They warmed him up. He started to come back to life. Now what do you do with a Komodo dragon? And so they looked up exotic pet stores, and they took him to Skokie. And they dropped him off, and on the way back, he says, right before you called, I just got in here. And they weren't trying to steal a catalytic converter. They were looking for a Komodo dragon that was lost. And I pulled up in front, and I asked them, did you lose something? And they said, yeah, we lost a Komodo dragon. I didn't know how else to tell you that quicker. So it's your lucky day. What was that guy like as a pastor? Oh my God, I can't even tell you. If it hadn't been for me reaching out in a conversation to a neighbor that had nothing to do with a bullet, his house was in a different direction, I can't be there. If I hadn't had the conversation with him, he knew nothing about the bullet. Didn't help us out there except to tell us some protocol from the fire department, the police department, what you would do. And he said, I'll go over there and I'll go with them to talk to the new neighbors and ask. He says, the trajectory of that bullet, which comforted me a little bit, it's coming down from the second floor through a wall down into your basement, which is the way you would clean a gun. And he says, I've got a buddy that was in the fire department that was cleaning a gun, and it went off because there was one in the chamber. And he was lucky nobody was on the front porch because it came right through the door and would have shot somebody in the foot. He says, that seems to me what was probably going on there. Already I'm feeling better. Is that what happened? I don't know. But just the conversation brings more calm to me, right? And then I get the added bonus that they're not after a catalytic converter, they're after a catalytic Komodo dragon. And they got their dragon back. I don't know if they had to go buy them from the exotic pet store or what. The beginning was the word. And the beginning was the conversation. You might think you know what's right. You might think you know who the salvation of the world is. And I'll end on this note with this text from Simeon and Anna. Anna is 84 years old. She's been living in the temple for 60 years because it's the only place she could go after being widowed by a young husband. 60 years, and she's been showing up every day, and Simeon's right beside her, another prophet who keeps looking for the coming of the salvation of the world. Emmanuel, trying to see this Savior. And every day they look, they're looking for somebody big. They're looking for somebody strong. They're looking for somebody with leadership skills. They're looking for... And what they find in the end is a little baby that's vulnerable and has nothing to add to the equation, nothing to fix. Just has a way of calming everybody around him, which babies do. They were just as surprised. But I could only imagine what it was like when they were watching John the Baptist grow up, because he would have been in the temple, because he was the high priest's son. This must be the one. I imagine them having fights. Do you think it's John the Baptist? Do you think it's John? Do you think it's John? Are we going to have to wait until he gets an office in the temple before we know what the whole deal is? And then he goes rogue and goes into the wilderness. Is this who it is? Simeon says, yes, I think it is. Anna says, I don't think so. And then the conversation continues between the two of them, never giving up. Watching. You think it's not the end. Lee, I've been watching you. I don't know how you do it. You do some amazing Instagrams, whatever you call them. There's social things. You're too old to even know how to operate that stuff. But it's like standing up for the people that are so voiceless and broken and disregarded. And every week it seems like we come across another person that we know that has a friend or a relative who's been taken, literally just kidnapped. Well, how do you endure that? How do you keep up with it? It's not the end of the story. It's not the end of the story. And if you want to know what the end of the story is, watch Lee's postings if you know how to find them. Simeon and Anna were both wrong until Jesus comes in the door being held. And we think, now we know it's right. And now we want to say, now we just have to wait for the second coming. No. You are the light of the world. All the life through him came into the world and brought the light, which is in every single one of us. Every single one of us, and in your marriage, baby. That's the salvation. That's the salvo. That's the conversation to be had and to be lived out and walked. So if a bullet comes through your house, which it may, or somebody might be abducted, or somebody have a conversation. Start talking. Start listening. Start opening up. Open. And we can walk together, which is what it's going to take. It's usually that walking together is usually kind of across a bridge in Selma, or it's going to the ocean to make salt, or it's fleeing lower Manhattan while the buildings are falling. All of that walking that we do together is, you don't know what the destination is, but you do it together, right? And along the way, the logos, the word. You know what the word is. You know what the good news is, right? Of course you do. When you see it happen, it's unmistakable. And then it's just as fleetingly gone. So I want to shout out, and we're not going to put this one on the web. We're not going to. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Lee, for helping in this walk and leading this charge through our days. And all of us, there's so many ways that we're all walking together, walking each other home. Thank you for going to Isaiah. And it's not all political. In fact, it's all political. And it's not political. It's just human. So in the beginning was the Word, and it's still here. And it's on your hearts. So, Mom, we're going to find out what happened with that bullet. We really are. And it's not going to be so scary. Or if it is, we'll work it out. Amen.